did you see from Daniel in week 2 compared to week 1?
I think overall, I thought Daniel did a nice job. I mean, he took advantage of his opportunities downfield. I thought he was decisive, but still plenty to improve on, but a good job last week.
Why do you think your running game got going?
I thought our O-line just did a really nice job of kind of getting a hat for a hat, working some nice double teams. Our running backs were trusting the holes and hitting them motor. I mean, there's some really good examples of him just trusting and then making some things happen across the line of scrimmage as well. I thought we were efficient. I think it was almost 6 yards a carry and did a nice job there.
Mike, I was hoping, you've been here a while now. You know the offensive line has been an issue here for a long time, well before you guys got here. Hoping you could expand on the offensive line and what you're seeing from them. You said they did a nice job, hat on a hat, but is there a bigger view on them? Have they taken really accountability of the success of this offense?
Yeah, and I think it starts with Carm and James, those guys kind of leading the room in there and making sure they're all on the same page, kind of seeing it through the same set of eyes, and JMS taking control of that and IDing these things the right way. And then it's been great to have the veteran guys in there that have played a lot of ball and have played ball in this system before. So those guys have been really, really, really positive, and they're all working together, right? And you can see that on the practice field. You see it in the meeting rooms where they're talking. And so I think just continuing to work with that core group, and it's been good to have some continuity there. Excuse me. So those guys are doing a really good job.
I was just going to say, after how things went, the memory that the guys from last year's offensive line probably have of last year's, has it been important to have guys come in with different experiences kind of very clearly wash away last year because 3 of your top 6 guys weren't even part of it?
Yeah, anytime you have guys that have experience, it always helps the room. So they can always, they can lean on that experience. They've been in play, they've been in games, whether it's tight games, games when you have a good feel of what maybe the other team could be doing, and then giving that and communicating back to the coaches on what they're seeing and what they're feeling. And then, it's coaches, as us as coaches, we got to trust that and give them what they like and how they can and put them in a position to be successful.
Have you had a moment where you've looked at John Michael and said, okay, not a rookie anymore, that he's developed in this way or that way?
I think this year he's had a lot of growth. Just, again, being a good communicator, going from year 1 to year 2 is always kind of that jump. And when you have veterans, there's that urgency that he has to develop, and he's growing with that and he's developing that, and that's been really cool to see.
I was going to follow up by asking about the veterans. Have you seen them kind of tutor him on their own or, help him?
Yeah, absolutely, in their own way, and all 5 of those guys got to be working as one, and I think they spent a lot of time together talking about that, on how they see it, and there's a lot of different fronts and looks that you have to spit out really quickly. So being able to dissect that information, give it to them, and then go right before the snap is really important, and JMS is taking control of that.
I understand if you have a player and he's really talented, you use him. I think Daniel's made 39 or 40% of his targets to Malik. Is there a danger that, you're forgetting the other guys?
I think just every week is going to be different. You look at the defense that they present, you look at the matchups. Again, you try to put your best players in the positions to be successful. So within the game, that could change. And, certainly going thinking one thing, they want to play a bunch of man or a bunch of zone. They switch. We have to make sure we go and adjust. And then it's about putting those guys in position. So whether that's the same or not this week or in the future, don't know, to see how the game kind of declares itself. But I think you always want to put your best player, your best scheme, or your best players in those spots so that they can be successful. So
the one thing, you were obviously way more effective offensively on Sunday. The one thing you still haven't been able to do this year is really get those deep balls or those downfield shots. What do you kind of attribute that to?
I think per the game plan. What is the defense giving us? Are they playing a bunch of shell? Are they playing a bunch of post high? What are the schemes that we can do and put those players there? It's really a feel of how the game's going. What that's mixing in run game or run action. So you have to take all that kind of into account. I think though, as we continue to kind of let the game just come to us, and as we're playing it and as we're calling it, then we'll have opportunities for that.
Mike, how does Jalen Hyatt, how can he become more consistent in his all-around game to get on the field more, from your vantage point?
Jalen's doing a great job in practice. He's a pro. He's staying late, meeting with Coach Groh, getting stuff detailed, and he knows a bunch of spots on our offense. And it's just about, getting him in the mix. And so every week's different, right? So whether he's going to be playing a lot or little, depends on the game plan, depends on the spots that we want him, what personnel groups you want to be in, whether it's big people or small people, 3 tight ends, 4 receivers, all of those things, he's in the mix on. So it just depends on if we ends up getting to that in the game, and depending on what the defense does.
Mike, how far, when you guys are putting together the game plan, how far do you dig in terms of, okay, they're going to do this, so we have to have this answer ready to go? And I say that because yesterday Daniel made the point of saying, you can see during the game how Washington adjusted their coverage to Malik. And the idea of, now that should, in theory, free other things up. Now that you're seeing it happen now in 2 weeks, how they're going to play Malik, do you build that into your game plan in terms of, okay, we're going to have X, Y, and Z after this because we know they're probably going to handle it this way?
Yeah, I'll answer kind of 2 parts. Like the first part, you never really know exactly what they're going to do before the game. You get into the game, you see how they're playing it, you adjust, you have plays that you have for certain players. If they take that away, you have to transition to other stuff. But yeah, you account for that in the game plan. Here's a little package of things for this player, here's a little package of things for this player, and then make sure they marry up with the run game, the run actions. And so it's just, it's kind of a puzzle you're putting together before the game starts, and if they're kind of a chess match, if they do this, you do this type thing. But that's are all things that we talk about.
Does a player like Myles Garrett require you an offense to change your entire plan, to account for that one player, or is that overthinking?
No, you definitely have to know where Myles is at. Same with Zadarius. They have a bunch of really talented players on that defense, and Coach Schwartz does a really nice job of really moving them around. Those guys line up everywhere, so it's not just one side or one side of the field or anything like that. So you have to make sure you're dialed in on where he's at, and then have the right schemes, right protections, right runs, and things like that you can account for them.
2 years ago in Jacksonville, you found that one run that worked, and you just attacked it. And then Sunday, Dable kind of did the same thing with Neighbors. What is that feeling like as a play caller when you recognize in game you found something that they're not going to stop?
Yeah, no, it's certainly, if it's effective, we try to make sure we continue to do that till they show us something. And a lot of times it's almost built into the play. So if it's single high, it's a pass. If it's two shell, it's a run. Just from the simplest form. So we have things like that in our offense. We have things like that in the run game, run to run, pass to pass, run to pass. So we just try to put ourselves in the best position and the best play call, and then giving those guys the reps as far as players.
Like, do you guys need more out of the tight ends? And I've heard everything.
Sorry, say it again.
Do you guys need more out of your tight ends than you get? I don't think they had a catch. I'm not even sure if they had a target. My point being, I heard everything you said the last 8 minutes about scheme to scheme and whatnot, but then do you guys schematically have to do stuff to get them more involved?
Yeah, the tight ends are doing a great job. Coach Kelly, Bake, they do an awesome job getting those guys prepared. And of course, we have them involved in the run game. We have them involved in the pass game. Just as the flow of the game goes, it goes a direction or not. And if we have to transition that, then we will.